Hello everyone. What I'm about to tell you is something I experienced firsthand. An event that only began to make sense years later, when I was a child. My father was sent to prison because of an unjust situation. During that time, I saw how easily justice could be misdirected toward the wrong people. It was the first time I witnessed how an innocent person's life could be completely turned upside down. That experience is why I became a police officer when I grew up. My goal was very clear: to prevent justice from being led in the wrong direction. But this story is not about a single incident or a single person. It began when I realized that certain things I had experienced over the years, things I thought were unrelated, were actually parts of the same chain. When I was a child, there was a boy in our neighborhood about my age. His name was Aaron. He was quiet and withdrawn. Unlike other kids, he never acted carefree, and even while playing, he constantly checked everything around him. He almost never talked about his family. Their house was on a back street. The curtains were always closed. I saw his mother and father a few times from a distance, but they never spoke to anyone. It was as if they weren't really living in the neighborhood, but only passing through. Over time, Aaron and I became friends. I would talk. He would listen. There were times we sat side by side for hours, yet he never shared a single detail about his family. They were poor, but I never once heard him complain. One day, I took him to a youth event at the church. As we were leaving, a man working there came up to us and asked where we lived. Aaron didn't answer. Without thinking, I described his house. At that moment, Aaron's face tightened. He didn't say anything, but it was obvious he was uncomfortable. The next day, Aaron disappeared. The house was completely empty. All the belongings were gone. The neighbors didn't know where they had gone. I never saw him again after that day. In time, I pushed the incident into some forgotten corner of my childhood memories. Years passed. I became a police officer. I thought my life was finally on track, until my brother told me he wanted to marry a girl. He said they had met her family and were seeing them often. My mother, my father, everyone said they had met her. They kept talking about what she was like, how kind and wonderful she was, but I had never seen her. Whenever I tried to run into her, she had either just left before I arrived, or she would leave before I got there. At first, I thought it was a coincidence. Then it started to bother me, because there was a familiar feeling inside me. The same thing that had vanished when I was a child. Years later, in a different form. It felt like it had returned, and this time, it wasn't just about the past. From the day my brother said he'd wanted to get married, the uneasiness inside me never went away. Everyone said they had seen the girl. My mother, my father, even my brother's friends. But whenever I was in the same place, she was never there. After a while, I understood that this was no longer a coincidence, because this never running into her situation always happened in the exact same way. My brother would say, "She'll be here in a minute." I would wait. Then, without fail, there was always an excuse. Her family called. A relative got sick. Work ran late. Always the same. Eventually, I spoke to my brother directly. "Do you know where this girl lives?" I asked. "Of course I do," he said. "Tomorrow, when you go to her house, I'm coming with you," I said. My brother's face tightened for a moment. It was brief, but I saw it. "Why, bro?" he asked. "Because I still haven't seen her," I said. "And this doesn't feel normal anymore." He brushed it off, saying I was exaggerating. But in that moment, I made my decision. The next day, I took leave from work. I started following my brother from a distance. I left my car a few streets back. He continued on foot. For a while, he walked through normal streets. Then he turned off the main road into a quieter area, a place where houses were sparse, old buildings were more common, and even the streetlights felt weak. After about 15 minutes, my brother stopped in front of a house that looked abandoned. The exterior was neglected. Broken fences, an overgrown yard, dirty windows. I thought to myself, who could live here? But my brother did not hesitate at all. He knocked on the door. The door opened, and in that moment, the feeling that had been sleeping inside me for years suddenly stood up. Because what stood in the doorway, from a distance, looked human. But up close, it was not right. Its posture, its gaze, the way its facial features were arranged. Everything looked like something imitating a human, but not quite succeeding. The moment my brother saw it, he relaxed. He smiled. He hugged it as if it were a normal embrace, as if the most ordinary person in the world was standing in front of him. I froze where I stood. That thing, while looking at my brother, slowly turned its head. Our eyes met, and in that look, I understood something very clearly. It knew that I saw it, and it knew that I knew what it was. I stepped back. I left my hiding place. My brother went inside. The door closed. At that point, I had only two options. Either I would act as if nothing had happened and tell myself I was mistaken, or I would finish this. That same evening, I went to my parents' house. My mother and father were in the living room. My brother was there too. "Where is the girl?" I asked. "She was here. She just left," my mother said. The same thing again. I stayed calm, because shouting never convinced anyone. "All right," I said. "Then tomorrow, let's all go together. Let's meet as a family." The next day, I made my plan, but I did not do it alone. I remembered the knot that had stayed inside me since Aaron disappeared when we were children, and I went to the oldest church in town. I found the priest who had served there for years. His name was Nathan. I told him everything, piece by piece. "I am a police officer," I said. "I am not hallucinating. I am not mistaken. What I saw yesterday at the house my brother went to was not human." Nathan looked at me for a long time. Then he said only one thing: "Take me to that house." In that moment, I felt relief, because he did not tell me to see a psychologist. He did not say I was tired or sleepless. He took it seriously. That evening, we left together, saying we were going to meet the family. My mother, my father, my brother, and I were in the same car. Nathan followed us in a separate car. We stopped in front of that abandoned house. My brother knocked on the door. This time, the door opened more slowly. That thing appeared in the doorway. My mother's face turned completely white. My father's throat tightened. My brother took a step back. All of them were staring at the same thing, and in that second, everything I had been experiencing for weeks became clear. They could see it now too, because Nathan stepped up behind us and began to recite something in a low voice. I cannot list every word he said, but I will never forget the tone. Firm, sharp, decisive. At that moment, a heavy smell spread from inside the house. Not dampness. Something rotten. That thing took a step forward. It reached out its hand toward my brother. My brother was frozen in place. Nathan stepped between them. "Stop there," he said. "You will not touch this family." For a moment, the thing's face changed. The human-looking face seemed to shift. Its eyes grew darker, deeper, emptier. Nathan pulled a small bottle from his pocket. He poured a few drops on the threshold of the house. Then he spoke loudly. "You do not belong to this house. You do not belong to this life. You came here to bind one of this family to yourself. Now you are leaving." I will not say the ground shook, but I will say this clearly. The air inside the house changed. Something like pressure, like weight, pressed down and then suddenly lifted. The thing began to move backward, as if it wanted to retreat inside through the doorway, but it was hitting an invisible wall. Nathan advanced step by step, continuing to recite, and at a certain point, that thing, that image of a girl, unraveled. I cannot explain this as an optical illusion, because we all saw it at the same time. My mother started crying. My father collapsed to his knees. My brother was left gasping for air, as if a weight that had filled his lungs for weeks was finally leaving. Then, the inside of the house became completely silent. Nathan turned back and placed his hand on my brother's shoulder. "It's over," he said. "It's no longer on you." My brother began to cry. "Brother," he said, "what did I do?" I hugged him. "You didn't do anything," I said. "They chose you, that's all." That night, we returned home as a family. My brother did not recover for days, but something had changed. His eyes were clearer. He never went near that house again. He even changed his phone number, as if he wanted to leave no trace. Months passed, and I will end this by saying something clearly. For years, I thought about Aaron, the boy who disappeared when we were children. I never saw him again. When I asked Nathan about it, he said that at that time, he too had been one of those demonic beings. When you came to me, I could see it very clearly. I had already performed this ritual to protect you. That is why, while no one else could see, you were able to see his true face. But now I know one thing. That feeling of disconnection I experienced back then was actually a sign. Some things return years later wearing a different face. Thank you for listening to this story until the very end. If this video affected you, don't forget to support the channel by liking it. For more dark and realistic stories like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. See you in the next story.